Hey everyone, Joseph Onesta here, type 2 mentor, and I'm not a doctor, of course, no medical advice here, but this is the last, I think, in our series of medical gaslighting, that little gaslighting series. This version of medical gaslighting, I think, has its roots in institutionality. Now, I'm not going to be very political about how we should fix this, although I could be. I'm not going to do it. Um, but we have to understand that everyone that we work with as a patient, working with a medical professional, albeit a nurse, albeit a doctor, albeit a nurse practitioner, albeit a physician's assistant, who's basically an underpaid doctor, but without the responsibility. Um, I, uh, every one of those people has at least two customers, and those two customers are in essential conflict, or at least economic conflict. So, and who are the players involved, right? We've got the pharmaceutical industry and the medical equipment industry, that the people that make all of that stuff and sell all of that stuff. We've got the hospitals, right? This is this big overhead thing. Let's add another one. We've got the lawyers who are all interested in malpractice and making sure everybody's covered, and what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And I've got stories about that. And and then the insurance, did I say insurance companies yet? We've got insurance companies. So here's the thing. Everybody wants to make money. Everybody. And so my health and my wellness has everything to do with somebody else's profitability. And that means that certain things can't happen unless there's extended risk. So, one time I was invited to a birthday party for a woman who worked for a major health insurance agency. And it was one of those, we're all going to go. It was a restaurant called Buca di Beppo. I don't know if you've ever been, but it's like all the food is sort of piled in the middle of the table and everybody eats, and then you order drinks separately. I was a vegetarian and I don't drink. I'm not a vegetarian anymore, but I was a vegetarian and I don't drink. So I ended up, even the salad that night at that restaurant, even the salad had like salami and ham in it. I was a vegetarian. I paid over 100, because we just split the check, all of her friends, and everybody was drinking. I paid over $100 for a dinner I didn't eat and alcohol I didn't drink. Bless her heart, as they say, but and that's not, I mean, it's not her fault. It was just the way it was. And, she was a nice enough person. But I remember we had a conversation and she said to me, hey, we have to make money too. And I thought to myself, no, you don't. No, you don't. That's not the first consideration of a health insurance company, or at least it should not be. It should be the facilitation of health services to the people who need it. Now, I've since learned that actually insurance companies receive subsidies from the government. I don't know how this works, but for certain things, really, didn't know about that. Another time, I had a client who was an EMT. That's the emergency people who pick you up in the ambulance. And I said to him, as a hypnotist, I said, it would be so nice if when you reached your patients that you just could say something like, everything's going to be all right. We're here now. And he looked at me and he said, we're not allowed to say anything of the sort. Why? Insurance. What if it's not all right? And I thought to myself, it would be an amazingly powerful thing to need an ambulance is exceptionally stressful. It would be an amazingly powerful thing to be able to assure that person that everything was going to be okay, even if it isn't, that it would give them a better chance. Not allowed to say it. Not allowed. And insurance companies, they talk about institutionalized or state-run insurance and how you have to have these long waiting lists. Well, the insurance companies are also now deciding what you get, if you get it, and how you get it, because it's what they'll pay for. And can you imagine what it is to have your doctor say to you, the insurance company won't pay for that? In my work with clients with diabetes, I ask them, tell your doctor to get a fasting insulin test. Fasting insulin. I want to know what that is. And doctor upon doctor upon doctor, first of all, balks at offering the test. It's cheap. It's about $100. But in light of everything else that they're testing. And so doctors will say things like, well, I don't see the value in that. And of course, I train my clients to look at them and say, well, I want to find out if I'm hyperinsulinemic. And the doctor is just amazed, like, why would you want to know that? Well, you want to know it because hyperinsulinemia means insulin resistance, and insulin resistance means metabolic disease. And if you say, I have metabolic disease, the most accurate measure of my self-healing process, my self-administered, my directive, is my fasting insulin. That's going to tell me how insulin resistant I am. And I can do all sorts of calculations that will tell me if I'm insulin resistant. And all of a sudden, doctors will say, yes, okay, because they realize you know something. And then they'll say, I don't know if the insurance company will pay for it. And do you know how many times I have said to my clients, look at your doctor in the eye and say, I will bloody pay for it. On the top end, it's about $100. Insist. You can insist. Your doctor's testing a whole bunch of shit. No one would even notice if it was just in there, but except the insurance company who says that's an extra $100. And of course, let's think about the other invested interest. If something shows up in your blood work, some pharmaceutical company is going to make money by selling you a drug for the rest of your life. So there is, even in that, an inherent interest in keeping you sick. And I hate to say that. I don't believe that doctors want to keep you sick. At the same time, doctors might be confronted by, like, why are all of your patients stop using, why are they no longer taking insulin? Oh, you're helping them actually reverse their diabetes. That's not good for business. I've heard it. I'm not gonna cite my sources. They're confidential. But the truth is this is what's going on. And why, for example, is the Food and Drug Administration so set on keeping those recommendations that have been standardized since 1980? Why? Two reasons. One, the revolving door between the FDA and the processed food industry. These high executives going back and forth. Oh, I'm going to leave this company and go work for the FDA. When I'm finished with the FDA, I'll go work for that company. Everybody's going to pay me millions of dollars and everybody's going to be happy. Okay, this is why industrial farming is what it is. They want those cheap ingredients. This is why miles and miles and miles and miles of corn and soybeans exist in our country, because and we can't even use them all. We actually sell some of them to other countries. And a lot of other countries don't want ours anymore because they're GMO and treated with all sorts of chemicals. All right, so we've got the pharmaceuticals, we've got the we've got the insurance companies, we've got the government involved in this, we've got doctors who need to earn a living. I mean, they've got a McMansion somewhere with 14, maybe they have 5 kids. That's 5 kids going to college. Everybody has to maintain a certain lifestyle, and there's of course the membership at the country club or whatever they do. I don't know, not every doctor does that, but some doctors do. And you have to maintain a certain status because you're a doctor. You should have a lot of money, I guess. Your life might be shit because you have to work extra hours and work your ass off, and you have to hire people who can fill out those insurance forms. All right, so there's this whole industrial mechanism that it's just better you don't know about it. It's just better. And sure, where there is socialized medicine, you might have to wait. And maybe there are interests involved in that too, that we don't know about. I do know that the UK a few years ago was seriously considering privatizing their national insurance. They actually thought about it. I don't know if what steps they've taken. I don't think they did it. But gosh, golly gee willikers, that would have just made them just like us. And, I don't know. It's not, this information is, so when you start taking responsibility for your own health and wellness, you're going to come up against a lot of institutionalized resistance because that's not how it works. Well, maybe it should work that way. And I remember that woman saying, we need to earn money too, and me thinking, no, you don't. The primary goal of you is to facilitate this payment process. You are basically a payment processor. And they negotiate prices and, oh, this is what we'll pay for this, and this is what we'll pay for that, and this is where deductibles come from. And this is where it comes from. And people can't say anything because they might lose their job. They can't say anything because the insurance company might not like it and might give them trouble. They can't say anything because the doctor they work for is being paid by the insurance company. Do you see where I'm going? It's like there is this mechanism that wants to hold back. But because of the internet and because of a few brave doctors, and I could name a list, I have a reading list. If you're interested, if you are interested in my recommended reading list for why I do and how I do what I do, I'll be glad to share it with you. You just go to my website, mindpowerpittsburgh.com, and contact me and ask me for it. I'll be happy to give it to you. I'll send it to you. It's a PDF. It's a long list of books, well worth reading. But at the same time, what I want you to understand is, in all of that, It's people feeling like they can't do the right thing. So this system creates this, and I'm sorry, this video is going a little long, but I'm on a soapbox now. I don't know how to fix it. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how to fix it. And I don't think anybody really does. And it's like, remember that phrase, too big to fail with the banks? This is like too complicated to revise. I don't know what we're going to do. But here's what I do know I'm going to do and what I'm helping my clients do. Take ownership and responsibility for your own wellness. You don't want to take the statin, learn about them. Look, if you don't want to take that statin, look at your doctor, learn about it, make an educated decision, and tell your doctor you're not doing that anymore. But you got to learn. You don't want to take diabetes medications anymore. You can't just stop because you need it. You have to change your lifestyle. By the way, your high blood pressure medication might go away too. This is why some doctors have left the industry and have gone completely private, cash only. You know, this is what we do. Cash only. Consultations. So this, maybe it's the root of all gaslighting. But this is the one that really is gaslighting because they're not talking to us about this. You know, they're not talking to us about what really is going on in the industry and why I don't qualify. I'm gonna say something. Many years ago, I worked at a place called AIDS Project Los Angeles, and I offered a direct client service through the agency. And one of my clients, when in 1995 or 96, it was either late 95 or early 96, I think it was early 96, that this medication cocktail came out to treat people with AIDS. And his doctor told him he was too sick to take the medication or too advanced to take the medication. Now, my boss was a physician. And I went to my boss. I said, look, you know, what about this? What the hell is this? That we have this cocktail helping people with AIDS and he's too sick to take it. And my boss, who was a physician, but not working as a physician, looked at me and he said, that's ridiculous. They just don't want to pay for it because they think he's going to die anyway. Oh. And he did. Well, eventually he died. I don't know how quickly. I was there for 2 years. But here, that's something. That's what he said to me. So, you know, from that point forward, I guess I have been interested in, you know, helping people in my business, in my hypnosis practice. Of course, I help people with everything, you know, people fear of flying and things like that, biting nails. I help it. I can do it all, right? But at the end of the day, my passion, and what's why I'm making these videos, maybe nobody will watch them, but if one person watches them and says, wait a minute, I'm going to change this in my life, I'm going to change my experience, then it's worth it. It's worth all this effort. I'm sorry, you know, I got to learn how to do this video thing a little better. But anyway, all right. I'm going to do it. I'm going to stand up. And when someone comes into my office and they really want to do it, I'm going to give them all of the information I have, let them make an informed decision. I'm going to coach them through the process and help them turn their lives around. But if all you want to do is take pills and just, okay, whatever the doctor says, I'm no longer, I believe in doctors. I believe they want to help. And I don't believe any of these people are evil. I think the system that has been created is a problem. And it causes people to die. People all over the world are dying from complications of diabetes because this system will not change the way it looks at metabolic disease. And they're dying. They're dying. And their lives become hellish. Imagine amputations. Imagine not being on dialysis, which is something else that has to be paid for. Did I say enough? I think I did. Joseph Onesta, type 2 mentor. I hope that you are now a little bit more passionate about taking ownership. I don't blame your doctors. I don't blame the nurses or the hospitals. It's not each of them separately, but together, this system and the interrelation is a problem, a real problem. Joseph Onesta, type 2 mentor. Thank you so much for listening to me.